Hi, I'm Natalie and this is the top 10 television shows available on Netflix ranked by me. Number 10 is the OA. This show is brilliantly strange. It's about a young blind woman, also known as the OA, after she's abducted and thrown into a basement prison with 3 other people. Over a number of years, they are drowned and brought back to life by their captor, who is doing research on what happens to people after they die. This show blends a lot of genres and is honestly sometimes very weird because the characters rely on a series of movements that look a lot like contemporary dance to empower them and give them supernatural abilities. It is truly a mind-bending show with an emphasis on friendship and working together, which I love. Unfortunately though, it didn't get renewed for a 3rd season, so if you don't like loose ends, perhaps don't start it. Number 9 is The End of the F*xxxxx World. This one is about a couple of extremely damaged teenagers trying to escape their lives. They end up in all kinds of stressful and violent situations. And the crazy thing about this show is how funny it is, despite the trauma being carried and experienced by these 2 characters. It uses dark humor to explore issues like grief, abuse, depression, neglect, and trying to understand what love is when you've never experienced love yourself. If you don't mind teenagers swearing, this is excellent. Somehow gross, somehow charming, somehow heartwarming, all at the same time. Number 9, Girlboss. This is about the creation of fast fashion e-tailer Nasty Gal and the life of founder Sophia Amoruso. Some people call it narcissistic, but I loved the brash and chaotic nature of Sophia. And honestly, how insane her early 20s were compared to mine. Like, people actually lived like her. It's wild. The Sinner. Trigger warning for this show because it does get very brutally violent towards the end, but it's a really gripping, mysterious police procedural. And the reveal at the end, while shocking, is very satisfying and effective. Season 1 is very good and season 2 is also very good. Another excellent police procedural that I will draw your attention to is Unbelievable, which is about 2 female detectives working to solve the mystery of who this serial rapist is in their communities. Number 6, The Good Place. The basic premise of this show is that the main character wakes up in the good place, which is heaven basically, and she realizes that she certainly doesn't belong there and shouldn't be there. She then has to pretend to be good in order to keep her place there and to quell suspicion. This show is a lot deeper than it appears and surprised me in the best way. It's funny and original and heartfelt and explores the meaning of life in a really fun way. Number 5, Maid. Absolutely spectacular. If you haven't seen this, go watch it now. It is very, very good. It's about a young woman who escapes a domestic violence situation with her young child in the middle of the night with no job, no money, and no real support. The show is about her busting her gut to try and create a future for her and her daughter. It's devastating and sad, but it's also full of hope and optimism. Number 4, Dead to Me. Women's rage is a real thing and I've experienced it myself. Women are angry about so many things in the world and they have every right to be. In this particular show, the main character is angry because her husband has just suddenly passed away and she has no real ability to manage or channel her grief in a productive way. So she becomes angry at everything, sometimes violent, and just really mad. She feels completely overwhelmed by grief, which she expresses as violent and destructive rage, and she meets another grieving widow. I love that women aren't just bystanders in this show, and it feels like you're watching 2 actual real-life women, not just scripted characters. And Dead to Me has lots of unexpected twists, which I also found really enjoyable. Number 3 is Mindhunter. This show is helmed by David Fincher, and it's a slow but somehow entertaining look at the work that FBI agents did in learning how to profile serial killers. I hadn't realized that profiling criminals wasn't really a thing, and linking psychology with detective work had never really been done before. So it's fascinating to see how a couple of FBI agents and a psychologist who form a research group start to develop some general understandings of how killers think, why they do what they do, and what they might predict in order to prevent these terrible attacks from happening. Again, this is a show that does feature violence towards women, and it does look at some historical cases where women have been brutally abused and murdered by these men. But that's not exactly the focus of the show. It's more about the psychology and personalities of the men who committed these terrible acts. While it is obviously disturbing at times, it is also really fascinating. And I'm not normally one for true crime type stuff, but this is really good. Number 2, Sense8. This is a brilliant show from the Wachowskis who made the Matrix films. And it's about 8 people awakening to this sort of hive mind that they all share. They're telepathically connected and can utilize each other's skills as needed. They start to be hunted for their abilities, so the race is on for them to try and find and protect each other, and also unravel the mystery behind the woman who awakened their abilities. The brilliance of this show, in my opinion, is that while the main theme is human connection, it explores lots of topics that are quite wide-ranging because the characters all come from different walks of life. Each character faces their own challenges in society, including racism, trans and gay rights, abuse, crime, poverty, patriarchy, and ultimately sexuality. There is a lot of sex in this show, but the good thing about it is that it's about celebration and unification rather than violence and dominance, which is so often the case these days. Number 1 and my favorite show on Netflix is Working Moms. The most hilarious portrayal of motherhood that I've seen. It makes me feel seen and understood. It begins at a postnatal mums group and follows some women in the group as they maintain their friendships, and their lives change as their children grow and they find their own identities and sort of work lives again. The 2 main characters have been best friends for a long time, and I love watching their friendship endure and develop. I also love one of the main characters, Kate, who's a real ball buster. She works in PR and deals quite deftly with a lot of sexism. It explores the challenges of working mums, although to be fair, at times it's a pretty unrealistic portrayal as all of these women seem to be quite wealthy. They all live in beautiful homes and look amazingly styled. But it is the show I look forward to the most. If you are after some other recommendations, I have some playlists available on the screen that you can click on. Otherwise, leave a comment below telling me what you want to see more of, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Well, I made a whole video and I wasn't recording, so we'll start again. Oh dear.